The Buccaneers are looking to get back on track while the Cardinals are hoping for the return of some key players. That and more on Crossover Thursday episodes of Locked On Cardinals and Locked On Bucs.
You are Locked On NFL Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, and welcome into Crossover Thursday episodes of Locked On Cardinals and Locked On Bucs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. We want to thank you for making Locked On Bucs and Locked On Cardinals your first listen review every single day. Don't forget you can subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. I am James Yarcho at JYarcho_Bucs, the host of Locked On Bucs. He is Alex Clancy at Clancy's Corner on Twitter, host of Locked On Cardinals. And both of these shows are here with you 5 days a week, along with the everydayers. For that, we want to share our appreciation for your continued support of these shows. And this Crossover Thursday is presented by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineups. All right. We are going to talk about the key matchups in this one. We're going to talk about how these teams are going to get some much needed wins. But Alex, I want to kick this one off with the biggest storyline. And the Cardinals seem to have tons of storylines that have lasted all season long. You have the Kyler Murray stuff. You have Marvin Harrison out of nowhere getting an appendectomy. Lots of things going on there in Arizona. So what is the biggest story for the Cardinals this week heading into a matchup with the Buccaneers?
The Cardinals have been able to keep it close the majority of the season, and one-score games have been the antithesis of anything easy. You know, it's something that I say it kind of tongue-in-cheek. You know, like there's two sides to a story traditionally. This is a kaleidoscope when you look at the Cardinals. There's 96 ways to look at what's going on here. And you could point all the fingers, and you could say everybody's wrong, and you'd be right. Or you could say it's these two things, and you'd be right. Or you could say, a culmination of so many things. When it comes to this week, it's just playing competent football, protecting Jacoby Brissett, and hopefully rushing for more than 55 yards on 20 carries, which is what the Cardinals amounted to last week. And in yet another one-score loss they probably should have won in Jacksonville.
Yeah, it's been kind of crazy. And I don't follow the Cardinals super closely. I follow the entire NFL casually, but I keep hearing more and more about the Cardinals because of the fantasy footballers. Not sure if you're a fan, but oh my goodness. Do they, they're out there in Phoenix and they're constantly talking about it. So I've been kind of following along with some of the drama there. But yeah, it seems like every time I turn around, the Cardinals are in a tight game at the end, and whether it's the offense failing to get the job done or the defense completely imploding, it seems like they keep inventing new ways, to lose these close games. And Bucs fans are going to sympathize. They, while they haven't been losing close games, they have been finding new ways to top themselves in terms of how poorly they can lose some of these games.
It's fascinating because both teams, and I'm not sure how much you focus on injuries like throughout your day-to-day with your shows, but it's something that can't really be denied at this point. Like the Cardinals have multiple players: James Conner, Trey Benson, Mars missed some time, Mac Wilson's on IR, Will Johnson's been in and out, Garrett Williams was put on IR early in the season, their top corner, Walter Nolan, their first round pick, didn't play until after their bye. So it's just like, when can you make that an excuse as part of the plot? And how much of it do you just have to be like, well, it's football and keep moving? That's something I've been struggling with, but I know both teams have struggled with that this year.
Yeah, it's something that we talk about constantly because this is a Buccaneers team that has had 7 different offensive line combinations this season. They started the year without McMillan and Tristan Wirfs and Chris Godwin. They got Wirfs and Godwin back, but then they lose Kalijah Cansey. They lost Bucky Irving. They lost Mike Evans twice. So it has continued to pile up, and I've dealt with the same thing. People saying, I don't want to hear injuries as an excuse anymore. And my favorite line is, explain to me the difference between an excuse and a reason, because there's a reason that the Bucs are struggling in some aspects of their game. And the reason is because they're missing guys that they were relying on. People calling for Josh Grizzard, the first-year offensive coordinator's head. It's like, this isn't the offense he wanted to run. He thought he was going to go out there with the best wide receiver room in the NFL. And instead, it's basically been a first round pick carrying the load the entire year. So lots of injuries for both of these teams. And I think that's kind of the top story for the Buccaneers right now is Baker Mayfield going to play? Now, it sounds like he wants to play. And he said that if he's physically capable, he's going to play. I think that's a terrible idea when you're dealing with a AC sprain in your left shoulder, because you can go out there and sure, you can tough it out. We know Baker's a tough dude. He will grit his teeth. He will fight through the pain, and he will do whatever it takes to try to win games. But you're also putting yourself at risk now to be out for 4, 5, 6 weeks. You could miss the season if you end up getting, clobbered for a sack or instinct kicks in and he tries to take off and run and he goes down the same way Mike Evans did against the Lions. Now you're talking about a multi-week injury. You're talking about basically losing the rest of the season, because Teddy can keep you afloat for a game. He's not going to keep you afloat for the next 6 and into the postseason. So that's the big one for the Buccaneers, but it does sound like they got some good injury news. Haason Reddick looks to be in play. It sounds like Bucky Irving will return this week. You have Jamel Dean, who has been one of the, if not the top corner in the NFL this season, according to PFF. He was back at practice after dealing with a hip injury, so it looks like they might be getting some of these key guys back.
Yeah, and with the Cardinals, it's really up in the air. 16 players on the injury report today. We don't know if it's vet day. I mean, it's usually vet day if there's a vet day. What constitutes a vet, and how important is it to not miss a day when you're putting together a game plan against, a better offense when fully functional? To answer your question, Jason Moore is a good friend of mine, actually.
Oh.
If you have a guy like that's number, how many times over under in a season do you ask for fantasy advice without pissing somebody off? That's my biggest issue going into seasons. I do like three. But no, Jason's great. Those guys are awesome. And yeah, they're all Arizona Cardinals fans. They all grew up here. So yeah, they have their own thoughts about Kyler Murray and Jacoby Brissett, and it's been fascinating. But anyways, regarding injuries, like the Cardinals, as you exactly said about the offensive coordinator for the Bucs, Drew Petzing is under fire daily about fire him. The offense isn't working. He ain't got a run game. The right side of the offensive line is bad. Like, this isn't the offense they want to run. He doesn't want Jacoby Brissett to drop back 55 times, but that's what he's had to do. So, I commiserate with you regarding that. Injury concerns, Will Johnson, standout second-round pick for the Cardinals, looked to be the steal of the draft, or one of them when healthy. He was the top-rated Pro Football Focus corner through 5 or 6 weeks. He's been hobbled. He should be back. Walter Nolan, 16th overall pick, will not play, which is a huge deterrent for the Cardinals getting interior pressure. Dadrian Taylor-Demerson, second-round safety out of Texas Tech. He may not play. The Cardinals' defense is about 60 to 70% injured, and it's just varying degrees of who's going to play and who's not. The offense, you getting Bucky Irving back is a exponential advantage over Bam Knight and Michael Carter. It looks like Trey Benson probably won't suit up again after the window being opened up. We're looking at next week. So this is not a healthy Cardinals team. And with Marvin Harrison Jr. in practice today in a limited fashion. So we'll see. But these are big names we're throwing around, dude. And there's a lot of question marks going into who's actually going to play on Sunday.
Now, when you take a look at the guys that did not participate for the Cardinals, Beachum, Browning, Clark, DeMarcado, Hernandez, Nolan, Sweat, Taylor Demerson, which of those guys do you feel is going to be the biggest loss if they can't suit up on Sunday? Just so Bucs fans are kind of aware of what's going on there with these guys that are obviously in danger of missing Sunday.
It'd be Josh Sweat, but I think it's a vet day. Okay. Will Hernandez and Kelvin Beachum play lockstep on the right side, tackle and guard respectively. Jonah Williams is already on IR. So if Kelvin Beachum were to miss, you're looking at Josh Fryer, rookie, playing right tackle, which wouldn't be ideal. But if the Cardinals can't get pressure on Sunday, they're not going to win. That's what it is. Todd Bowles is going to get home he blitzes 98% of the time. He's going to get home, but the Cardinals pass rush needs to be an entity there that's present. And if Josh West were to miss this game, which I don't think he will, that would be the biggest blow. That would be the biggest blow for sure.
All right. Well, we are going to get into the key matchups of this game. That is coming up next on a crossover Thursday episode of Locked On Cardinals and Locked On Bucs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's the one making that late push. The defending champion Oklahoma City Thunder are the favorites to win the NBA Finals at plus 155, followed by the Denver Nuggets at plus 700, the Cleveland Cavaliers at plus 950, and then the Houston Rockets at plus 1100. Meanwhile, the Buccaneers are 3-point home favorites over the Cardinals this week with an over-under of 45.5 when the Buccaneers will induct former Cardinal Simeon Rice into the Ring of Honor. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you again for making Locked On Cardinals and Locked On Bucs your first listen review every day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. All right, Alex, when you're taking a look at this game, what is the first matchup that you really gravitate towards and you think, you know what, it's a long road trip. We are playing in their house. There's going to be that emotion there from the Ring of Honor induction. They're going to want to, play for Simeon. They need to get a win. What can we expose to upset the Bucs at Ray J?
If the Cardinals can protect Jacoby Brissett, they've got a fighter's chance. It's really that simple. Like, Jacoby Brissett is a tree trunk, okay? Jacoby Brissett is a large man who can handle some, messing around with in the backfield. He can get balls off. He throws them across the field. We've seen the emergence of Michael. We'll talk about fantasy football. The emergence, obviously, of Michael Wilson. Trey McBride is his mainstay. It'll be fascinating to see if Marv comes back and he's able to just drop into the fold and they're able to execute. Can they protect him because the run game isn't going to be there? That's truly what it is. The key matchup is the offensive line versus the defensive front and pass rush of Tampa Bay. Because anybody who's been around the game long enough knows if you don't have an offensive line, nothing else matters. Like, truly, unless you have the Legion of Boom and you're Russell Wilson who can play off a broken ankle, like, it doesn't matter if your quarterback doesn't get time and the Cardinals can't run the ball, so they have to drop back. And that's really the biggest thing for me. I mean, Jacoby Brissett could get sacked 10 times in any game the rest of the year. Truly. And that's the biggest sticking point. That's the #1 key matchup.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Bowles plays this because a lot early on in the year, he was dropping edge rushers into coverage. He was bringing some exotic blitzes. Now, teams are targeting those edge rushers in coverage. It's leading to explosive plays. But this is a game where you have to be able to get Jacoby Brissett to the ground. Having Haason Reddick back, if he is able to return, that's going to be a big boost. But you're very clearly missing something with Kalijah Cansey gone that Bowles was able to mask for a little while, but it's not working much anymore. So generating that pressure, I know Bucs fans are going to keep an eye on that offensive line for Arizona and hope that they're facing a couple more backups there. When I take a look at the Bucs offense against Arizona, you have to be able to run the ball. Yeah, I mentioned earlier this week on Locked On Bucs, Arizona is one of the worst in the NFL at allowing yards after contact. And if the Bucs get Bucky Irving back, more than 50% of his career yards have come after contact. So you're getting that explosiveness, that elusiveness, and the ability to break and shed tackles from Bucky. Not to mention Rachaad White has been solid in his own right, but Sean Tucker has really come on strong lately since, coming out of the bye. He did what no other running back has been able to do this year and rush for over 50 yards against the Patriots, 200-yard explosion against the Buffalo Bills for this Buccaneers rushing game. Sean Tucker had a hat trick in that one. So if Baker's out, which I think he should be, we'll have to wait and see. You have to lean on this run game, and that also allows you to control the clock. It allows you to protect your defense, who has given up big play after big play after big play. So that's really where the Bucs are going to have to hang their hat in this one.
What is the running back room going to look like with Bucky's healthy? Like, it's going to be a wait and see, obviously, but is Rachaad White going to be the odd man out? Because Bucky can do what Rachaad does in the run game and in the pass game?
I think they're going to ease Bucky back into this. He's not going to get his usual carry. So you're probably looking at a pretty even split between the three. And while Bucky has improved in his blitz pickup, he's still like no running back on this team is anywhere close to as good as Rashad is at picking up and stopping those blitzes. So he's still going to get some opportunities, but I do think Sean Tucker is kind of usurped that RB2 role, which is fine because Rashad's a pending free agent. So teams looking for running backs are going to be interested in a guy that can run the ball, that can catch the ball, and can protect the quarterback. So Rashad's going to be an interesting name to watch on the free agent market. But as far as this game is concerned, I would expect it to be, I don't know, maybe 40% Bucky, 35% Tucker, 25% Rashad.
Real quick, usurp is great. I use supplant in a different form. Usurp, I'm going to start using. So, anyways, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. Anyways, so another one for me is the DBs against Emeka Egbuka. Tez Johnson, he's a dynasty stash for me. I think he's going to be an integral part in. I mean, he reminds me of. So he's the touchdown guy, and Emeka is the between the 20s guy lately. Like Emeka was obviously everything first. How can the Cardinals keep Emeka Egbuka muzzled like it seems like he's been when opposing teams? I know he's the only, number one out there and has been, and with Bucky out, it's a little bit more difficult. How can the Cardinals keep in that arena and not the explosivity that we saw during the first 4 or 5, 6 weeks of the season?
Yeah, and that's going to be a tough one, especially if Will Johnson isn't able to go. We know that he was limited, right? And if he can suit up, that's definitely going to go a really long way. But, this is a situation where the defensive backs may not really have to do a whole heck of a lot. Again, if Teddy is the quarterback, you're leaning on the run game, and then it's going to be dinking and dunking. It's going to be, let's just get enough for the first down, keep the chains moving. He's not going to take deep shots. He's not going to be airing it out. He's not going to be sitting back in the pocket and trying to pick up 40, 50, 60 yards at a time. Where you would have to worry about those guys is once they get the ball in their hands. Once Egbuka and Tez get to the second and third levels, they can turn on the jets and they can make some guys miss. So that's really where the big chunk plays could come from. But this is not a passing offense that has been overly impressive ever since really the win against the 49ers back in, what was that, week 6 or 7?
So, and listen, I think that I even asked that question because I just expect Baker to play if he has 2 legs still. It's like a thing where it's, well, you know what, this is one, and this happened, I don't know, I can't remember it's just like coaches have to save him from himself because he's going to run through a wall and he doesn't care. Like, I know that if he gets hit once and he falls on that left shoulder and it crunches, like, he could be out for the year. I mean, depending on when it happens. So, do you really think, and I know you've alluded to this, like, take your it should be hat on off? Who do you think will start on Sunday, not withstanding any sort of credence to it? Like, if you had to guess, if it was just you and me talking.
I would say it's a 50-50 coin flip, truly. But I'll say Teddy.
Oh, really? Okay.
Keep an eye on the injury report tomorrow.
Yeah, sure.
If Baker is limited in any fashion, he'll play on Sunday.
Got it. Yeah, and again, not to put you on, we didn't. I didn't tell him I was going to ask that. I'm just curious because the offense looked bad when he got hurt. And listen, Teddy was coaching football, not a year ago. So him coming in and signing with the team, obviously he hasn't got a lot of action. But I mean, what do you think his peak is? Like, so you think that they're going to run the ball if they can 35 plus times if it's Teddy?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
as long as I would look for 11, 12, 14 play drives that could end in field goals. As long as you're picking up 3 yards a carry, which Sean Tucker and Rachaad White have done easily. Yeah, you might have an explosive by Bucky that goes for 30 or 40 yards. But as long as you're just chipping away, you're chewing up that clock and you're finishing those drives with points, I think that's kind of the recipe for this week and how they're going to approach the game. So even if Baker does play, I think you still have to lean heavily on the run game just so that Baker isn't sitting back there in the pocket or taking off and running and taking a shot to that shoulder.
Yeah, so we could be looking at two completely contrasting game plans going into Sunday because the Cardinals ain't doing that. That is not happening. They're going to be hucking it. Start all your Cardinals. Doesn't matter what the defense looks like. The Cardinals will be throwing the ball between 35 and 50 times on Sunday. So that's the key matchup. I mean, it's the offensive line, but it's like Jacoby's efficiency graded on a curve has been excellent when everybody knows he's throwing the ball. With no Marv, Michael Wilson's been another guy who's been, quote unquote, muzzled because of the scheme, and maybe it was Kyler Murray like his entire career. He's having a breakout party. So I'm so excited to see if the offense can do it again and, maybe put up some more points early on.
And that is terrifying to Bucs fans who are just bleeding yards through the air, bleeding those explosive plays, those 40+ yard touchdowns. So that's a terrifying thought. By the way, we've brought up fantasy football a couple of times now. If you're in a fantasy league, pick up Jacoby Brissett. He's been like the quarterback 3 the last 6 weeks, and he's still available in half of leagues. Might want to start him against this defense if you don't have a great matchup.
He's going to throw it.
Yeah, 100%. So, and that'll lead me. I'll be real quick on this. My key matchup on defense, it is the secondary against this Cardinals offense. You cannot give up these big plays. You cannot let wide receivers get open down the field because Brissett he'll haul, he'll lean back, he'll chuck it, and you're looking at more 40, 50, 60, 70-yard touchdowns. And that is not something that this defense can afford to give up anymore. So that's going to be a huge one. It'll be interesting to see how these two teams match up with one another, especially when, as we've kind of discussed here, very different approaches to this game. But we are going to talk about what these teams have to do to get a win. That is coming up next on Crossover Thursday. Wrapping things up here on a Crossover Thursday episode of Locked On Cardinals and Locked On Bucs. Alex, what do the Cardinals have to do in order to get that upset on Sunday?
Force takeaways. And it's funny, I'm sure this is one of the top ones you say every segment with this, and your Friday show probably too. Like, the Cardinals forced 4 turnovers last week and lost. They forced 4 turnovers last week, didn't turn the ball over, and lost. So this is part of the story where it's like, hey, you guys want to figure out how to lose a game? Go get it, kiddos. You're going to get 4 turnovers. You're going to have 4 takeaways. Go figure out how to win, and they were still unable to do it. So, but that's number one for me. Especially if it's Teddy, it's like, this dude hasn't played a lot of football as of late. Go exploit that. He's still an NFL quarterback. He's still a great leader. He's still one of the headiest quarterbacks we've seen in a while. But he still hasn't played, and he's not Baker Mayfield. So this is where Nick Rallis just needs to be like, you know what? Send it. Force turnovers, send it. And if you get burned by Bucky's 60-yard touchdown run, you deal with it. But that's it. It's just, you got to play for broke at this point if you're the Cardinals, and forcing takeaways is number one on the list.
Yeah, I mean, they're +4 in turnover differential this year. The Bucs are only at +7. It was a lot higher earlier in the year. Also, it's wild that the Bears are number 1. Like, who told the Bears that they could play football? I don't understand that at all. Yeah, for the Bucs, it's the exact same thing. And they've done a good job of winning the turnover battle over the course of this losing streak. That's what's so crazy. They lost the turnover battle against the Rams 1-0 on that pick six that Bucs fans are still debating. Did Otten have the ball with his knee down?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I thought it was the right call, but they win the turnover battle against the Buffalo Bills and they lose. They win the turnover battle with the Patriots and they lose. So that is a big part of this, but they have to do something with those takeaways. If you get an interception off of Brissett, which isn't common, but even though this Cardinals team does turn the ball over, Brissett does a pretty solid job of protecting it. But if you get that takeaway, you have to do something with it. The Bucs had multiple takeaways against the Bills, came away with 10 points. That's not enough. You have to capitalize, whether that's the defense scoring on their own or the offense not settling for a field goal. it doesn't matter if you get 3 takeaways and you only get 3 points for it. The Cardinals' air attack will make you pay for that.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, and the Cardinals even had a pick 6 last week and still lost. It's cool. It's normal. It's what should happen, I guess. I don't deserve nice things. So, another thing is just Jacoby Brissett getting sacked 5 or 6 times a game, not counting the knockdowns, is not sustainable. He's a human being. I don't care how big he is and strong he is. It's not sustainable. Keaton Slovis is the backup who played like 19 different colleges. This is not an ideal scenario for an offensive line that hasn't played very well outside of Yarcho Reddick, the center, and Paris Johnson Jr., left tackle. The Cardinals need to protect Jacoby Brissett. I sound like a broken record on every single damn one of these things. It's you gotta protect him. The right side and the left guard are problematic, and the Cardinals didn't do anything this offseason to address it. And you're getting into the real mud and the muck of the NFL season, and it's like everybody's hurt, okay, and you just got to do the best with what you got, and that's it. I mean, it's protect Jacoby Brissett and takeaways. That's what this has been for me every segment we've done this, and the Cardinals have done okay with both, but the offensive line is starting to wane.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I've been a broken record. Win the turnover battle, win the time of possession. Mm-hmm. But there's a reason that we say those things, right? It's because that's what is tried and true. That is what wins football games. So I'll try to veer off course just a little bit and say the other way that the Bucs are going to win this game is you have to be opportune. You have to pick your spot, right? Again, we're going off of the thought process that Teddy is going to get the start. So it's going to be a run-heavy attack. That this Cardinals defense will turn you over. They will take this ball away. That doesn't mean that there won't be opportunities. If you are going to dial something up, I mean 1, maybe 2 plays in this game, dial one up for Ibuka, dial one up for Tez Johnson, but in order for it to work, you have to be effective in the run game. But there will be a chance to push the ball down the field, to take that deep shot, to try to get that big-time explosive touchdown. You have to have enough confidence to pull the trigger. And I'm not sure that this team has much confidence in themselves right now. So they need to get over that. They need to put that off to the side. Last week was last week. The Bills game was whatever. The Patriots game was whatever. You only have to worry about this Sunday. Find your spot. Pick your spot. That's the chess game that we're going to have to see Grizz play, because I think that could be the spark that the Bucs need moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy going into the season. We've both checkmarked this as like a potential playoff preview, and things have obviously not gone well of late for the Bucs, and pretty much since my birthday in September for the Cardinals. Yeah, I mean, listen, like taking shots is something the Cardinals have to do, and they do. Think of it as like they're running a 2-minute drill offense the entire game. So it's super fun to watch. Like aesthetically, it's like they're going to throw the ball. They're excellent. This is crazy. And watch out for this. Bucs fans, they're excellent on third, and they shouldn't convert it long. Like it's the weirdest.
It's terrible at those.
3rd and 11, 3rd and 15, 16. It's a sweet spot for Jacoby Brissett. It's banana. It's bonkers. Like the amount, it's Michael Wilson's contested catches. It's throwing the ball 3-4 yards short of the sticks to Trey McBride, and him just bull rushing to the first down marker. Like, it's crazy. It's like 3rd and 15. All right, dial it up. Come on. But yeah, I mean, by and large, this is going to be a weird Madden on easy offense to watch. And it's not aesthetically pleasing all the time, but that's just what the Cardinals need to do to survive, because they're unable to run the ball. If Trey Benson comes back, we're having a different conversation. I just don't know if that's going to happen. So in Jacoby, you trust, and you got to throw it as many times to get the ball down the field and score touchdowns. That's the other thing. They got to score touchdowns more effectively than they are now. That's probably the third one. Kyler Murray was better than that around 10. Jacoby Brissett, not so much. They've been kicking more field goals, but I trust Jacoby implicitly, which is a trip to think at this point this season.
One team wants this to be a shootout. The other one wants to drag it out and have this game finish 13-6. We're going to have to see how this all shakes out. And yeah, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I'll have to look it up for my final episode this week. The Bucs are not good defensively in 3rd and long. I think Stafford converted 3 or 4 that were 3rd and 8 or longer on Sunday night. So you just caused Bucs fans to start twitching and maybe taste their Thanksgiving dinner a second time. But that is going to do it for this crossover Thursday. Please make sure you are coming back, checking out Locked On Cardinals, Locked On Bucs final preview episodes coming on Friday. You are not going to want to miss that. Hope you all have an absolutely fantastic Thanksgiving. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we will see you next time here on Locked On Cardinals and Locked On Bucs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.